here on the programme. We will, of course, bring you all updates from the Middle East as soon as we get them here on NewsX World. We, however, move over to Europe next, where Poland has confirmed a major breach of its airspace, saying Russian drones have crossed from Ukraine during Moscow's latest wave of strikes. Warsaw says its air defensive, backed by NATO allies, were scrambled and weapons were deployed against the hostile objects. Additionally, Prime Minister Donald Tusk confirmed that weapons were used against the drones and the operation is ongoing. The Polish military has also stated that the airspace was repeatedly violated, with operations underway to identify and neutralize targets. Defence officials say that the President and Prime Minister have been fully briefed. All services are on alert and territorial defence forces are conducting ground searches. Authorities have urged people in Podlaski, Mezakałki and Lubelski region to remain indoors while search teams hunt for downed objects. The public is being urged not to approach any fragments of drones and to report them to the police. Poland has also informed NATO and is in constant contact with the alliance. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Air Force warned drones had threatened the city of Zamosk, with reports also pointing to Rezekau. US authorities confirmed airspace restrictions near Warsaw and Rezekau due to military activity. We're now joined by Professor Veselin Popovsky. He's a professor and vice dean at Jindal Global Law School, and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us here, Professor Popovsky, here on the programme. A huge development here in something that could be massive. What is the significance of this? Of course, this is the first time this has happened into a war which is now approaching 4 years. What is your read that possible Russian drones could be encroaching into not just Polish airspace, but also into NATO airspace?
Actually, it's not the first time. It happened a year and a half ago. There were also debris falling in the Polish territory. In fact, 2 persons at that time died. There were casualties in Poland. But this is significant. As you said, it's already the airspace of a NATO member, and much more massive than the previous time was basically debris falling. Now we have drones operating in the airspace of a NATO member. So I'm sure NATO will take this very seriously. And one reaction should be to consider no-fly zone over Ukraine. Actually, I've been advocating this for many, many months and years. NATO should take seriously those incidents and should think of how to protect the air space of not only Poland, but also Ukraine itself, which will reduce the civilian casualties out of the war. Obviously, until now, that has been avoided. There were hesitance to do that, mostly not to escalate the conflict and not to put some more foot for Putin to claim this is a war between NATO and Russia rather than Russia and Ukraine only. But it's time to take that step. I'm in a strong opinion that NATO shouldn't worry anymore about escalate. It's Russia that escalates. It's not NATO that. NATO has been very patient, very calm and silent so far. Apart from helping Ukraine with military equipment, they haven't done anything else. And it's high time to establish a no-fly zone over the entire airspace of Ukraine, which will obviously make a significant impact. Any Russian military object in the airspace of Ukraine is a military target that NATO Air Force should be able to gun down. And if that happens, that will change, I think, significantly the equation and make Russia think twice what to do next.
Yes, and Professor Popovsky, obviously we can't speculate here what's going on. However, what does this behavior possibly signal? What could the Russians be doing here with these drone actions?
Well, we see also similar action on the border with Finland. Some Russian troops mobilization and movement around the other borders with the Baltic states. So generally, for Moscow, this is they would like to send a signal that they are ready to fight, and not only with Ukraine, but also with other neighboring countries, the Baltic states and Finland. So Poland is not an exception, but Poland is very significant here, and it is a major supporter for Ukraine. It's a neighboring country with very much historical and cultural heritage together. So again, you're right, it's difficult to speculate, but the escalations come from Moscow. That's absolutely clear. On this, there is no ambiguity. NATO has been patient. NATO has not done any provocation against Russia, and not only now, by the way, for the 75 years of its existence, never ever a single bullet was shot from NATO to Russia. So any talks about threats from NATO to Russia are absolutely nonsense. There is no threat from NATO to Russia. This is Moscow propaganda. So for that matter, let's put things clearly now. It's escalating. Who is the aggressor? Who is the war criminal? And NATO countries, again, my hope and belief is that they will get together, get serious, establish a no-fly zone, and get engaged a bit more with even their air force in Ukraine.
Professor Veselin Popovsky, thank you very much for joining us and giving